Actually, I had a conversation late yesterday afternoon after business hours with Cherokee Ballard in the medical examiner's office and expressed to her my concern about the way that these notes from Dr. Choi and Dr. Yakub ended up in this file in the medical examiner's office, and not just really the concern about their content, but the concern of how could a note like this be placed into a file and not ever be disclosed to the prosecutor's office, so therefore we can disclose it to the defense. Because really our concern is to make sure that the process is fair to everyone involved. And if a defendant does not have available to them all of the available evidence, they have the opportunity to argue they didn't receive a fair trial. And I would agree with them, because potentially and arguably these notes could be considered what Brady versus Maryland material, which is exculpatory evidence, potentially exculpatory evidence, and should have been disclosed to them. So I was concerned that when these doctors placed these notes in the file, that they had not disclosed that to me or notified my office in any way, and therefore we weren't able to give it to the defense. But once I did become aware of it, I immediately called. Within 5 minutes of learning of these notes, I called Urban Box and said, "You need to know something. Here's what we've got." So last night I had a conversation with Cherokee Ballard. She advised me that she would immediately notify the interim medical examiner, and that he'd be calling me bright and early this morning at 8:20 this morning, 8:20, 8:30 this morning. He called me, and we had a very long conversation about my concerns about these notes ending up in the file without me knowing about it. And secondly, did that change his opinion of the cause of death in this case? And when I explained to him the medical evidence in the case and what I was aware of, and he had noted that he had reviewed the fact that there was 2,100 cc's of blood in the chest cavity and the abdominal cavity of Antoine Parker, that he had to be alive when the additional 5 rounds were shot into Antoine Parker's chest, and that he was not dead after the initial head wound.
So you're going to call him to testify now instead of Choi?
All that's still up in the air. I mean, we haven't even determined at this point if we would need to call in an independent pathologist to do an independent review of this, and call in a neurologist now to hire a forensic neurologist to come in and testify at this point. So we're early on in our reexamination of the evidence, but I've got to be honest with you. It appears that our initial call on the cause of death and the facts that led us to the initial filing against Jerome Ersland, those are still intact, and I don't have any intent at this point to dismiss this case, because again, as I related to you, the conversation I had with the interim chief medical examiner this morning was that blood, the 2,100 cc's of blood, would not have been present in Antoine Parker's chest cavity and abdominal cavity if his heart was not beating.